Hey, welcome to Life After Nursing School. I'm your host, Caroline Dana, aka Nurse Coach Caroline, and I'm here to help you, the new nurse, thrive in your career. As a former nurse recruiter, nurse manager, and now your personal new nurse career coach, I'm obsessed with making sure you don't just survive your first couple of years at the bedside. I want you to absolutely rock them. From the challenges to the triumphs, I'll be right here with you, giving you the real-world advice and support that you need to shine. Whether you're in nursing school getting ready for life after, or you're already out there in nurse life feeling overwhelmed or even questioning your confidence, I've got your back. I'll be sharing tips, tricks, resources, and strategies that are just for you. We'll dive into everything from landing that dream nursing job to slaying imposter syndrome, and most importantly, how to keep that spark alive and stay the vibrant and amazing nurse that you are. So if you're ready to tackle the things nursing school did not cover, like how to build a career, trust yourself, and keep your passion strong, then get comfortable because we are about to dive in and make nurse life the best life. Hey, thanks for hitting play on today's episode of Life After Nursing School. I am so glad you're here with me for today's topic, which is a nice reminder that being a nurse is still great. Now, listen, there are many things that need to change within our profession, like increased levels of security within work settings and maybe a recalibration of the nursing pay scale. That would be nice. Also, maybe even looking at the cumbersome workload that is required for most nursing roles. But I'm not going to get into any of those things today. When I decided to start this podcast as well as my business, I really wanted to be mindful of remaining a positive source of nursing inspiration. There are many people out there who complain constantly about the profession, and while their complaints are often valid or justified, I don't think that helps nursing students or new nurses transition into practice. So while I wholeheartedly agree that many things need to change within our profession, I also wouldn't change career paths, and I want to share a few reasons why being a nurse is still great. First, I want to start with one of the more obvious reasons, which is a stable source of income and job security. Now, I didn't appreciate this until I was working as a travel nurse recruiter. That job was a sales job, and when I was in the role, it was post-COVID and the travel nurse market had started to turn and rates were dropping. The agency that I worked for at the time had just purchased a massive building, and their overhead operating costs increased significantly because of this purchase. So it really wasn't a surprise when the agency began to make cuts, and those cuts did include employees. This was the first time I ever truly feared for my job. Many travel nurse agencies were laying off employees, and layoffs were a completely new concept to me since my career was largely comprised of traditional nursing jobs. In my prior nursing roles, I had never feared for my job before. I knew that my employer needed me, usually more than I actually needed them. So this new fear of losing my job was definitely anxiety provoking. I knew if I lost my job, it was not only going to affect me, but my family, which included my 3 kids. So the pressure was real. Now, growing up, my dad worked in sales, and there were times when he was unexpectedly laid off. Luckily, my mom was a nurse, so during those periods, she would take on extra shifts to help cover the bills until he found a new job. I remember my dad being really stressed during layoffs and my mom feeling equally frustrated. At the time, I didn't fully appreciate how valuable my mom's nursing job was, which provided her the option to pick up extra hours and fill the income gap. That changed when I found myself in a similar situation as my dad, working in an unstable sales position. Being a travel nurse recruiter definitely made me more appreciative of those in sales roles. It is not an easy gig, to be honest. They say in sales, the highs are highs and the lows are low. And they also say, never get too excited or too discouraged because things change at a moment's notice. And I just want to confirm that those are very true words, having lived the sales life personally for a period of time. I also want to add that having a predictable income as a nurse is also a great job asset. When I was in the travel nurse recruiting role, my income depended on my commission, and it was all over the place. Some months were better than others, and paying bills was always anxiety provoking. Unpredictable income makes it hard to budget and plan financially. While being a nurse, if I worked my contracted hours, at least at a minimum, I knew what would be in my bank account come payday. Oh, and let me also share that if I took a vacation as a travel nurse recruiter, I wasn't making sales, and therefore I was not making money. And instead, I was actually losing money. Let me tell you a story. My family took a trip to the Outer Banks with some of my dearest friends and their families. We had rented a large house on the beach. And to set the scene, there were 8 adults and 11 kids in total. And at the time, I believe all 11 kids were under the age of 6. So, yeah, it was a bit hectic. I spent a few hours on that vacation every single day finalizing travel contracts that I had in the works and checking in on my current travelers to ensure they were feeling supported and also taking care of any loose ends that could be catastrophic to my commission pay if left unattended. Sales income is highly unpredictable, and if you take your foot off the gas, your income will take a hit. Most bedside nursing roles allow for true paid vacations and predictable paychecks, which is more than I can say for many jobs. Okay, so now moving on from kind of that pretty obvious perk of nursing, I want to talk about the next perk, which, to be honest, is what I think makes the profession magical, and that is the schedule. What other profession out there offers full time, part time, or per diem hours? What other profession offers days, nights, evenings, weekends only positions? Now, I didn't appreciate these scheduling options until a few years into my career. Early in my career, I held a few per diem jobs in addition to or to supplement my full time job for some added money and also experience. However, it wasn't until I became a mom that I fully appreciated these other scheduling options. I've worked with many nurses that worked straight night shift while their kids were school age so that they didn't need to pay for childcare. I know nurses who worked weekends only so that they could be present for their families during the week. I worked with many nurses who worked part time or per diem so they can free up time for other things like family and other life endeavors. I don't know many other professions that allow for this much flexibility. Also, have you ever been to a grocery store in the middle of a weekday or made a doctor's appointment for midweek? It's easy breezy, okay? Because most people are working Monday through Friday and banker's hours, and they do their errands and appointments around work. On this note, I also do want to say that while working three 12-hour shifts is absolutely exhausting, working 3 days a week does free up the remaining 4 days for other things like rest, hobbies, errands, or even maybe a side hustle or passion project. Many of you know I currently work 2 days a week as a clinical nurse instructor, and then the rest of the week, I'm either spending my time working on my coaching business or doing mom related things. I would never be able to quit work completely to start a business, and most non nursing jobs are either full time or nothing. So I'm grateful that nursing allows for so many flexible options. Balancing a predictable, stable income from part time work with my coaching business, which is not predictable and still very much in the growing phase, is a wonderful combination and allows me to grow my business slowly on my terms and without a sense of urgency since I have another source of steady income. I'm not sure if you have experience in sales, but let me tell you, when you need to make a sale out of a place of desperation, it never ends well. So, having a career like nursing to support a growing business allows me to always come from a place of service or serving others rather than a place of desperation. In other words, it allows me to keep my values in check and operate in a place that is aligned with my moral compass because I have financial stability from my part time nursing position. If you are a nurse interested in pursuing a side hustle or passion project or full blown business, nursing is a great profession to support this new venture. Another amazing reason that it is still great to be a nurse is the many different specialty and nurse related job options that exist. If you are someone like me, then you enjoy learning, feeling challenged, and you don't mind change. If you are someone who likes to evolve, this profession is for you. In all my almost 13 years of being a nurse, I've worked in so many different nursing specialties and settings. Let's see, I've worked on a med-surg unit, in the emergency department, in nursing management, in long-term care, and in surgical services. As for workplace settings, I've worked in the hospital setting, in a skilled nursing facility, in an outpatient surgical center, and now I work for a college. I've worked full time, part time, and per diem. When you are in a new role or position, you learn a lot at first, and then you acclimate to the job. After a year or two, the learning curve does plateau a bit, and typically that's when I find myself itching for something different. In the first 6 to 7 years of my career, the itch to learn and continue to grow as a nurse was the driving force behind most of my job changes. I wanted to see more, learn more, and progress professionally. After I had my first child, things shifted, and life became more about the time I spent outside of nursing than it did the time I spent within the profession. I began searching for positions that complemented my family needs and, more recently, my growing business. This is what led me to discover that there are also nursing related jobs that are not traditional. There are remote nursing jobs, nursing related positions within medical device sales, legal nurse consulting, nurse coaching, and so much more. There seems to be a new nursing position emerging every day, and I think it's incredible how our profession has continued to evolve and prove to be a necessity and not just at the bedside. Who doesn't love a profession that offers both traditional and non traditional options, making it perfect for every season of life? Whether you're in your pay off all my student loan debt era, or you're in mom life era, or even your soft nurse era, there's a work option for every nurse. Okay, moving on. Another reason it's still great to be a nurse is the simple fact that understanding medicine, medical jargon, and the ins and outs of our health system is a huge life skill and life advantage. It's like we as nurses understand a secret language, and therefore we can effectively advocate for ourselves and our loved ones. Okay, sometimes I play this game with my sister, who is not medical, but in her defense, she does have a degree in psychology, and she did grow up with my mother, who's a nurse, and she grew up with me, who has been pretty much obsessed with nursing and medicine since middle school. But we play this game where I say a medical term, and she tells me what she thinks it is. And it's always eye-opening because I think we easily forget what we know as medical personnel versus what the average person knows. Okay, so recently I asked her what she thought a stoma is, and she said, "Isn't that like a hernia? Or wait, maybe it's a medical instrument." No, no, no. I think it's a blockage or opening. Honestly, not too shabby in my opinion. Well, I guess aside from the medical instrument guess. While on the topic of my sister, I want to tell the story about when I realized I wanted to become a nurse. And it was when I was in the sixth grade. My sister became ill due to a strep infection. She battled this virus for weeks before it turned bacterial, and she became septic despite being on oral antibiotics. Weeks into the illness, she stayed home from school sick, which at this point she had missed weeks of school staying home. But on this particular day, she became unresponsive. Thank God my mom called out of work that day to be with her rather than my father or grandmother because my mom saved my sister's life by performing CPR. My mom called an ambulance and demanded they go to the nearest children's hospital rather than the nearby small community hospital, which didn't treat pediatrics commonly. My sister then spent weeks in the ICU intubated. It was a very scary time for my family, but I will never forget my mom fighting so adamantly for my sister. And when I say fighting, I mean advocating, but at times it appeared to be more like a fight. Although my sister had been cared for by a large healthcare team with many multidisciplinary team members, it was my mother who seemed to be the one to suggest certain tests or push them to think more critically about my sister's situation. I remember thinking to myself that my mom was using these words that sounded so foreign to me, like biopsy and transplant. That was the moment I realized that being a nurse meant you were able to protect and save the ones you loved most in life. I knew I wanted to do the same for my family someday, just like my mom had done for my sister. My sister made a full recovery, but I attribute this recovery to my mother's nursing knowledge and intuition. Fast forward to now, me being able to triage my children's boo boos or help direct a family member on how to handle an illness or complaint is something that I will never take for granted. Our health is everything, and if we don't protect our health or have good health, we actually have nothing, in my opinion. When I ran the Chicago Marathon, about 2 years ago now, a woman was sitting on the sidelines holding a sign that said, "Movement is a blessing." And that has really stuck with me since then because I can't really imagine a life where I can't move my body or maybe I have limitations. These are things we should never take for granted. Okay. Lastly, I want to end on my favorite reason that being a nurse is still great. And the reason is because of the people that you will meet along the way. The nursing profession, as well as healthcare professionals in general, seem to attract a certain type of person, and it all starts in nursing school. Nursing students are traditionally high achievers, hardworking, dedicated, and resilient. To get through nursing school, you cannot be sensitive, weak, or fragile. On top of these qualities, nursing has been voted the most trusting profession for 23 years straight, which means those within the profession likely trust each other immensely as well. Not much changes once you are in the profession. You may develop some dark humor or laugh at things that are not necessarily funny to the average person, but don't worry, I can guarantee you that your peers in healthcare will be laughing alongside with you. I am still extremely close with my best friends from nursing school. There are 6 of us in my college group of friends. 5 of us were nursing majors, and the last one in our group might as well have been because all she ever heard us talk about or complain about was nursing school. I feel blessed to be able to say we are all still good friends to this day. You can't help but form close relationships to your peers in nursing school because it is likely one of the most challenging times in your life, and the same tends to happen once you work in the workplace. Once I started working in the hospital setting, that is when I met my now husband and some of my closest friends to this day. I actually just had dinner with one of my best friends, Riley, who I used to work with years ago in the ER. And let me tell you, she could literally insert an 18 gauge IV in a rock and make it look easy. Shout out to her. Love you so much, girlfriend. The people you meet while working in medicine are a completely different breed. More often than not, we are oversharers. We make light of dark things and dark situations. We laugh when we shouldn't. We make the most difficult days bearable, and we support each other. There is no way you develop long lasting relationships like the ones in healthcare while working in a cubicle or business like setting. These are the people and relationships you will likely have for life. The nursing world and medical world is not very big once you start working within your defined network. A few years in, you may be at a new hospital and recognize an EMT that you knew well from a previous job setting. Many times, you learn about other job opportunities from previous coworkers. I also have another friend, Ashley. She's also from my ER days, and the 2 of us always share job opportunities, career aspirations, and networking ideas with each other. She's one of my tried and true girlfriends, and with her, it doesn't matter where either of us are working or when we last saw each other, we pick up right where we left off. I'm a pretty firm believer in that you can hate your actual job, but if you enjoy the people you work with, it becomes bearable. Your coworkers can make or break your nursing experience and job satisfaction. And who knows, maybe you meet your future spouse like I did. Okay, again, that's a story for another time. I hope this episode helps you tune out the negativity that is sprinkled among our profession. Again, I know things need to change for the better in healthcare, but I do truly still believe being a nurse is a great career choice. To recap, nurses make predictable income, have job stability, can work flexible hours and shifts, have the ability to pivot directions at any point within their career to fit the season of life they're in, can use the knowledge that they learn to care for and advocate for the people that they love most in their life. And the people you work alongside as a nurse are some of the best people you will ever come across. I am so grateful to be among the nursing community and hope together that we can make changes to support and enhance the profession's greatness. Again, thank you for tuning in today. As always, I have one hand for me and the other for you. Signing off. Well, that's it for today's episode of Life After Nursing School. I hope you feel more confident and ready to tackle the challenges that come with starting your nursing career. Remember, the first year or 2 might not be easy, but with the right mindset, you can overcome anything. If you found value in today's episode, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a future episode. Also, please consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps so much in reaching other new nurses like you. Thanks for listening, and remember, you've got this. Take care and see you next time.